Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now today's first story comes from Hi Bing You Bing from the Am I the Arsehole subreddit, and says, am I the arsehole here for wanting my fiance to prioritize my family's vacation over a best friend's trip? My fiance, let's call her Sally, and I are getting married next month. Since we've been together, we've had fights about how to prioritize family time. We live on the same coast as her family, and my family lives on the opposite coast. So through no fault of hers, we see her family significantly more. My sister recently was diagnosed with MS, multiple sclerosis. It sucks. So far, she has light symptoms, but it's a disease that can progress quickly, or cannot. My family has adopted a very let's make every moment count mentality, because we don't know how many years we have with my sister in good health. My brother reached out to me to say they're planning a trip on the week that both his kids and my sister's kids have spring break. This would be a week-long trip, as a fixed date because of the kids' schedule. When I told Sally, she mentioned that her best friend had reached out to start planning a girls' trip. Sally lives a several hours drive trip from that group of girls and almost always misses the girls' trip. Her friend let her know that she's reaching out early to make sure that Sally can go. She told me she just wants to get ahead of this and doesn't want to let her friend down. They don't know when it will be, but it may be the same date as my family's trip. No one in that group, including us, have kids, so we have much more flexibility. I'll be honest that I got frustrated very quickly and was not very comforting or understanding. I tried to resist bringing up my sister having MS, but eventually I did, and said that's why we're pushing so hard to take advantage of these years. Sally responded that we don't know that things will be bad and we need to stay positive. That rubbed me the wrong way, because I feel like she's missing how awful we would feel if the MS did progress quickly. Sally told me that I'm being manipulative and controlling for pressuring her to plan her friend's trip around my family's trip. I believe it's fair to expect your spouse to show up for things like that and to prioritize family, especially family you don't see, over friends, particularly with the illness situation. Here's where I could be the arsehole. I definitely reacted poorly when she treated the trips as two equally important things. I absolutely pressured her to agree to go on the family trip. I also brought up previous fights, like about beginning to split Christmases, to point out that she's been resistant to sacrificing time with her people to get an equal amount of time with my people. Also, I'm sure some folks are wondering why I don't go alone. My family adores Sally and want her to be a part of the family. I want her to be a part of my family just like I want to be a part of her family. It's not realistic that we do every single thing together, but I think we should just make a significant effort to. I don't know, I felt like I was missing something there. Maybe I have, maybe you'll let me know. But like in the third or fourth paragraph, it said that she wants to get ahead of this and they don't want to let a friend down, but they don't know when the trip would be. It may be the same date as the family's trip. So if she wants to get ahead of it, why didn't she just say to her friends, look, we got a very important family trip around that date as well. Is there a way that we can accommodate both trips here? You know, if a friend told me that, a friend came up to me and said they got an important family trip that they really need to go to for whatever reason, you know, I'd do my best to accommodate them. But someone said to OP, info, does Sally adore your family? Is she especially close to your sister? And is there a time limit to your expectation that she prioritize your family over any other considerations? OP says I'm not going to respond to a ton of comments, but saw this sentiment a lot and just want to clarify that Sally very much has a relationship with my family, particularly my parents and my sister, and has shown throughout our relationship that she cares about them. It's not a case where she doesn't feel close with them / enjoy them. A commenter says to OP, you're the arsehole, you're making way too much of the vacation with your sister. She's only just been diagnosed. She's not going to become seriously handicapped right away. With care, MS patients can live a long time. You and your fiancé are marrying soon, and perhaps her friends want to have a nice last trip beforehand. OP says I want to clarify that she just got back from a bachelorette party with the girl who invited her on this trip 2 weeks ago. She sees her friends a few times a year, more than I see my friends from back home. This isn't a case where she's been years without seeing her friends. A friend plans a trip with a group of girls that Sally isn't really a part of every year. She's close with some, not close with others, and Sally hasn't gone since we've been dating. I'm highly encouraging of her spending time with her friends in every other situation. Commenter says, why hasn't Sally attended this trip in 7 years? Her friends are so excited for her to attend that they gave her a 7-month heads up. What was your proposal on splitting holidays? Do you mean alternating or something else? Does your family also visit you? Opie says the friend inviting her is her closest friend. Another one of her close friends goes on the trip. The other 4 people are people who she is not close with, to the extent where I told her to invite them to the wedding and she said it would be weird to invite them. I don't know why she hasn't attended. To my knowledge, this is the first time that her best friend made it a point that she really wanted Sally to come. It's totally possible that she's been asked to go before and I just wasn't aware. For holidays, I mean alternative Christmas. I will point out that we don't see my family for Thanksgiving, the years we do Christmas with her family. But we do see her family for Thanksgiving on the years we do Christmas with my family. Commenter says, has she tried to stop you from seeing your family and friends? I think the difference is you expect her to go on these trips with you, and she doesn't have that same requirement. If she is stopping you from seeing your friends and family, then that is a problem. If you aren't going to see them because she isn't traveling with you, then that is a you problem. Opie says that's absolutely a fair way to look at it. She's not stopping me from going, she's just not committing to going herself. On the flip side, there have been times where the roles were reversed and she expected me to go. Without getting into too much of the details, I will likely be jobless come December. Luckily, I have several years of savings and mentioned to her that I may skip Christmas with her family to study and prep for interviewing. She told me that's upsetting to her and it's not a good look. So I immediately told her that's fine, I'll understand and I'll go. So I guess my point is, it's fine if a couple thinks that they shouldn't have to do everything together. It's also fine if a couple expects their partner to go with them to things. I think both partners should attempt to hold themselves to the same standard that they hold their partner to. And one more commenter says, does your family also visit you? Opie says, my parents do once a year. My brother and sister do not. My sister's finances are very tough, so it's just not possible for her. Our finances are a lot more flexible. So Opie came in sometime later to update the post and says, thank you all for your advice and input. When I left the original post, I was not in a great headspace. I also tried to keep it concise so there's plenty of context missed. This will be the last I update or respond, and I'll break the update into additional context and the resolution. Additional context. 1. Sally adores my family as well. She's always told me how much they mean to her and has even floated the idea of potentially moving to my home state and how we would be able to see my parents and my sister more. We haven't made any decisions and leaving her home state would be very difficult for her. It's impossible to summarize everything she's done to show she cares about my family over the last 7 years. But I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that she does. 2. She's never gone on this trip she's invited to because she is not close with the majority of the group of people on the trip. Her best friend reached out to her early because she really wants Sally to become closer with this friend group. 3. The scenario that led us to knowing about my sister's diagnosis was crappy. We found out by my mum accidentally telling me that my sister was getting tests done. We were sworn to secrecy because my sister was adamant that she didn't want to distract us from the wedding until she had the final diagnosis. It was an honest mistake from my mum, but it has been an emotionally charged situation from both Sally and me. We're both grieving. 4. For a variety of reasons, we've been completely overwhelmed by this wedding. There's been a lot of drama coming from outside sources and it's been exhausting to the point where we wish we just eloped. No, it's not my family. 5. Sally has unlimited PTO and we have enough funds to do both trips. 6. I don't know everything about MS. My understanding is that is absolutely possible. It has minimal impact on my sister for the next few decades, but it could also be a debilitating situation. 7. My family were all together, without me, in Italy 2 weekends ago. We'll all be together over the wedding in a few weeks. The trip will not be a loaded, heavy saying goodbye trip at all. It's just something we want to prioritize because the future is uncertain. The resolution. We had a great conversation about it this morning. We acknowledged that we're both overwhelmed with this diagnosis and we're both overwhelmed with wedding planning to the point where it's really difficult to wrap our heads around what comes next. We came into that conversation in a healthy headspace and both said things that weren't ideal. She wants to go on the trip. She's been feeling protective about committing to things in the next year because of how underwater she is with the wedding, but on reflection realized how important this is to her. Sally also let me know that she's still adjusting to having family that has kids and how inflexible their schedules are. Her siblings don't have kids, so their vacations are a lot more flexible. We're going to sit down when we're less overwhelmed and talk about what our goals for how often we see each side of the family are, how we can make that happen, and how we'll handle situations like that in the future. Thanks everyone. Opie adds more information on how they found out. Opie says, my mum told me while drunk on accident and begged me not to say anything because my sister asked her not to share it with us and distract us from wedding planning. It was an honest mistake. My mum loves us and slipped that my sister potentially losing her job, which I knew about, was scary because she has medical stuff going on. I forced it out of her after that. I wanted to give my sister space to approach me in the way she wanted to. Maybe that was the wrong thing to do. I felt like all of my options were pretty shitty, but I based towards trust in my mum. It would upset my sister to know that I knew. And a commenter says no one's an arsehole here, but honest question. MS isn't commonly an immediate death sentence, and most live with relatively decent mobility. My mother was diagnosed in 2001, and you'd never know she was ill. Is she supposed to drop everything for your family for the next 40 years because your sister has MS? Opie says no, that's unrealistic of course. It can't be that she drops everything for my family every single time. I do think that, in light of my sister's diagnosis and us getting married, now is a good time to iron out what we each think is reasonable for the foreseeable future in terms of visiting each side of the family. I think this trip carries particular weight because it's the first one we're planning as a family since finding out. I'm sorry to hear about your mother's diagnosis. I never intended to overreact to my sister's diagnosis. I have a lot to learn about. I may be a bit lost again. I still don't know why it was sort of like an either this or that situation that she reached out 7 months in advance. She didn't know what date it would be. It might fall on the same date, but you could just mention to your friend that I got this on that date. Is there possible we could do it the week before or the week after or something like that? I don't know. I feel like I missed a part, but what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Now our next story comes from the Am I Wrong subreddit from NiceAd8511 and says, am I wrong for siding with my mum when she told my wife she isn't family? My beautiful wife Zoe and I have been married for a year. I have a 10-year-old sister, Liv, who is very shy, quiet, a well-behaved kid. With her parents or super close family, friends, she is sassy, funny, outgoing, but around most adults she is super reserved. Zoe and Liv have an okay relationship, but I certainly wouldn't say they are close. Liv hates the movie character Krampus. When she was 4, she went downstairs on Christmas Eve and my mum and her friend were watching the movie in the dark living room and it scared her to shit. It's not like she is still super scared of it, but she definitely still hates it. We were recently staying with my family while in between places, just for a month, and Zoe found a Halloween mask that looked similar to Krampus at her friend's house and thought it would be hilarious to prank Liv. I really don't think she had bad intentions. She has a mischievous streak and it was totally something Liv's dad would do. So Zoe woke her up with the mask and Liv didn't think it was funny and basically just wouldn't talk to her. My mum came into our room and very aggressively told Zoe, if you ever go into my sleeping kid's child's room again, we're going to have a huge problem. Zoe tried to say she was just playing around and she didn't think they would get mad as Liv's dad does stuff like that. My mum said, here's a fucking dad, you aren't family. Zoe was furious and asked if I was really not going to defend her. I said you are 100% my family, but Liv probably doesn't think of you as family and that is understandable. My mum even clarified that is what she meant. She said she considers her husband family, but would never ask us to. And she told Zoe to accept that she isn't Liv's family. Zoe is furious with me for not standing up for her. I feel my mum was mostly right. Liv doesn't view Zoe as family and is more closed off and reserved with her versus her dad, who she is 100% comfortable with, and would feel she could get back at. Zoe is my family, but it seems weird to push her on my family. I get it because no one is getting it. Zoe is absolutely my family. Zoe and I are a family, and my mum, her husband, and Liv are their own family. Opie came back into the post a short while later and said, well, my last post got a lot of attention and was a lot more decisive than I was expecting. I'd like to clarify some things. I do think of Zoe as my family. She is the most important family in my life. Liv is my half-sister and I don't have a relationship with her dad. My mum's husband though. I know that might scandalize some of you with your views of family. I would never prank Liv because we don't have that relationship, so I was pretty horrified that my wife pranked her. My mum never forced her husband on me, so I stand by not forcing Zoe on Liv. Well, I just wanted to let you all know we are now no contact with my family. So the Krampus prank took place on Friday night and I haven't really been home since due to crazy work hours. I got home and found Zoe hysterical. I've never seen her like that. She was on the verge of a panic attack and couldn't stop crying. My mum's husband came in and in a really mocking voice said, "It's just a prank, bro," like he was trying to be some cool TikTok kid. While I was gone, my mum told Zoe that they were going out to dinner with Liv. So Zoe was home alone and my mum's husband and some of their pieces of shit friends staged a break-in. They had ski masks and ropes and obviously Zoe thought she was going to die. Then Liv popped out giggling like crazy and Zoe realized what was going on. I don't agree with what Zoe did to Liv, but it is nothing compared to this sadistic shit. I actually hit my stepdad, which is crazy because he's a black belt and I might regret it in the morning, but I've never been so pissed. I told my mum I would never forgive her. She began screaming about, "She was in my child's fucking bedroom, she had no right, blah blah blah." I am done. We got our shit and went to a motel. Honestly, what sucks is my godfather was involved and I always thought he was a cool dude. But whatever, he picked his side. Screw them. Now, I'm not saying what Zoe did was the right thing to do, going into Liv's room, putting on the Krampus mask, especially something that, that she's got some trauma about from when she was younger. But staging a break-in, ropes, ski masks? I can't imagine what went through Zoe's mind in those moments, what she thought what might be happening to her. Absolutely fucking terrifying. And the thought process to think that's some kind of prank to begin with is absolutely batshit crazy. That goes through your mind and you think that's still funny. Fucking hell, man, come on. Vivid says, well, would it have been a prank if the wife pulled out a gun and shot a few of the people breaking in? I see they wanted to get back at the wife from the first prank, but no one seems to actually know what the hell a prank is. Pranks are supposed to be harmless and funny. Fun for everyone involved. These are like hazing. Neat Pen says, first, your wife was wrong and I don't think anyone is disputing that. And really the only complaint your mum seems to have is that she went into your sister's room, which I agree with. If she had jumped out from behind a door or something, then I would say your wife wasn't wrong. None of that excuses a group of grown men causing a woman to think she's about to be raped and possibly killed. That is not a prank. There are so many other actual pranks they could have done if they really felt like they needed to get back at her, but they chose something dark and scummy. The problem your mum has now is she has lost any moral standing she initially had, which is what happens when you stoop lower than the person you're offended by. If she or her idiot husband says anything about you hitting him, you can look them right in the eye and say, "It's just a prank, bro," and then tell them they have no room to act self-righteous or as if they have any ground to stand on anymore, since they chose to retaliate in the way they did. They got back at your wife in a terrible way, so going along with their childish mindset, they're even with your wife and can no longer hold the prank against her. You, however, have every right to protect your wife from people who have just proven that they are willing to go to the extreme to put her in place. Holy shit. The escalation in that story is absolutely wild. What do you guys make of this situation? Holy dearie me. Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And as always, just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories. Thank you for sharing your pictures over on Twitter of what hobbies you're getting up to whilst you're listening. At Mark Narrations if you want to share yours. Shameless plug there. Thank you so much, and I will see you in the next one. Take care and much love.